Guys, I wanted to do a follow-up video on the Sig 320. Some of you all had seen the previous video that I did regarding the newest lawsuit against Sig Sauer. The 320 had gone through a recall, as I'm sure many of you all are aware. Not a recall, but a voluntary upgrade program where they made some changes to the internals as well as the trigger due to a drop safety issue. And since that time, there has been a lot of question regarding the safety of this firearm. And I have been one that I have read a lot of things online, watched different videos of different people talking about this. And you know, I like this gun, but I'll have to admit I wondered myself if it was one that would be safe to carry. There were some reports about some of the newer generation, some guns manufactured after the recall, as well as some of those who had gone through the upgrade program, whether or not they were still safe. So what I decided to do with mine, of course I did go through to check, make sure that mine was one of the newer models, which I knew it was when I bought it, but there's a place on Sig's website to where you can enter your serial number or part of your serial number, and it will tell you whether or not it falls within any kind of an upgrade, if there's any issues with it. But even after that, you know, I had still had some thoughts whether or not the gun was safe to carry. So what I finally did is I simply took the gun apart, and I'm going to show you some of the things that I've found. And I'm going to let you know just right up front, personally, I think that the Sig is a very safe firearm to carry, especially after what I'm about to show you. The first thing that I want to look at is going to be the slide and the firing pin block and all that. And I don't know if you can see in the video very well. Currently you can see that the firing pin is not extending past the face. You know, there would, if there was a round there, of course, and you were to fire that round, that firing pin would protrude through that, and currently it is not. And I want to show you something here. If I push forward on this, you can see there is still no protrusion of that firing pin through the bolt face there. And the reason for that is the firing pin block right here. This right here must be depressed, and we will look at what presses that shortly. But this must be depressed before that firing pin can go forward. And what I'm actually going to do, I'm actually going to depress that a little bit, just like so. And I'm going to then push that firing pin forward. And now you can see that it is protruding through, just like that. Okay, so that firing pin block works very effectively. Of course, your firing pin, when the sear is engaged, is going to be pulled much further back, as demonstrated there. And still, you know, if you release that, that firing pin does not protrude through there because of that safety. Now, if we look at the internals here, what we can see is the mechanism that will release the safety is right here. As I begin the press of that trigger, I want you to notice right here, you can see here, that is what depresses that firing pin block. Okay, you know, if that was laid over, I mean, you can see that that would be exactly what engages it. Once that is engaged, you can then see the sear drop down, which would allow the gun to fire. Okay, and another very important part of the safety of the 320, which was added on those that went through the voluntary upgrade program, is an out of battery safety. And just to show you, some of you guys whose guns have gone through the upgrade, you will notice that you had a cut added about right in here. This model here, mine and the newer models, you know, it is already there, factory, right from the factory. They did not refinish the ones that were gone through the upgrade program, but of course these being new, you can see there is a finish on them. And what that does is this, the out of battery safety basically. Right now, if I were to press this trigger, you can see the firing pin block safety coming up, which would depress the, right there, that firing pin block, allowing the striker to go forward. And then of course the sear. However, if for whatever reason the gun is out of battery, this right here would be depressed. Once it goes down, when I press that trigger, just like I'm doing there, the disconnector is not going to allow that sear to fall. Alright, I let it back up, then you can see that it's going to function just fine. Of course, that works with the disconnector, where when you fire a shot, you press that shot, that action cycles, that right there goes down, you heard the click, and when I release the trigger, you can see nothing happens. Now of course the action would cycle back closed. At this point that safety would come back up, and basically when I release the trigger, you can hear the reset click, just like that. Okay, all of these safeties working together, I believe, are very reliable. I think that the newer revision of the Sig P320 is a very safe firearm. Of course, you know, the changes that they did make, I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that the trigger, the inertia from the trigger, as well as the firing pin safety. Here, now on the older one, something that I noticed is this could easily be lifted. Okay, you could raise that up with no effort whatsoever. On the newer ones, it will not just raise up. That is locked in place. Okay, it will not simply pull up the way that the older ones did. In fact, you can look at a video, I think it's on the Sig website, where it details a little bit about how this actually functions. I know, there again, I wanted to know for sure whether this gun would be safe to carry, and you know, so like I say, I've gone through a lot of the things, checking to make sure that this firearm is safe. I really like the firearm. I think that it feels real good in the hand, and I wanted to be able to carry it. Many of you all know that I do like my Glocks. I'm a big Glock fan, but at the same time I also like Sig. So that's one of the reasons why I decided just to sit down with my gun, take it apart, and see exactly how it would function. You know, there's things about it that of course I had concerns with, just like many of you all out there, and so I wanted to make sure that the gun would be safe, you know, for the very purposes of why I wanted it. My thoughts on the Sig P320 is that it should be a very safe firearm for concealed carry, particularly those models that have gone through the voluntary upgrade program, or are the newer models which were not eligible, you know, that already had all of the changes made to them. But anyways guys, it's just a quick follow-up video that I wanted to do. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and guys, any gun that you do not feel safe carrying, you do not need to carry it. Okay, it doesn't matter what kind it is. If you don't feel comfortable with it, you don't need to be carrying it. But for me, I really think that this firearm here will be fine. But guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the links down in the description. Be sure to visit my website at boomsticktactical.com. Please share these videos, guys. It really does help the channel. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.